Have you ever really stopped to think about what happens at the end of time? Well, today, we're going to take a journey, a step-by-step look into one of the most profound ideas in Islamic belief, the Day of Resurrection, or QIYAMAH. We're going to follow the timeline, right from the moment all of humanity is brought back to life, all the way to the final judgment. It's a huge question, right? When that final day finally arrives, where is everyone, and I mean everyone, from all of history, actually going to be gathered? We're going to dive right into the key text to find out, mapping out the location and the state of humanity at this ultimate assembly.
All right, so here's our game plan for today. We'll kick things off with the day itself, then look at how the Earth gets totally transformed. After that, we'll follow humanity's journey from resurrection to the final gathering spot. We'll even see how this whole event is symbolized in our world today. So let's get started with a fundamental idea, the Day of Reckoning.
So what's this day really all about? You know, when you boil it all down, the entire event, this whole cosmic reset, is built around one single core idea, a final, universal reckoning for every single person who has ever lived.
The main term you'll hear is QIYAMAH, but it also goes by another name, Yawm an-Nushur, which literally translates to the Resurrection Day. And the belief is simple but staggering. Every single human being, with absolutely no exceptions, will be brought back to life to face a final judgment.
And this is what's so wild, the sheer scale of it all. This isn't just for one generation or one group of people. No, the belief is that everyone who has ever walked this planet will be brought back. And it all happens right here, on a completely remade version of Earth.
But here's the thing, the Earth they're resurrected onto, it's going to be fundamentally different from the one we know. We're talking about a completely transformed landscape.
The Quran itself describes this profound shift. This verse paints a picture of a transformation on a cosmic level, not just changing the earth, but the heavens too. The very fabric of our reality gets a complete overhaul.
And the details get even more specific in the Hadith. I mean, think about our world today. It's defined by its features, right? Mountains, oceans, landmarks. Well, the resurrection Earth is described as completely uniform. It's perfectly flat, like a loaf of white bread, and totally featureless. There are no marks set up for anyone. It's the ultimate level playing field.
Okay, so picture it. Everyone's been brought back to life in this strange new world. What's the very first thing that happens? They gather.
The first stage of this new existence is one single, massive assembly on that huge, featureless plain. I mean, just try to imagine it. All of humanity, from the very beginning of time to the very end, all standing together on one uniform surface. Okay, but wait a second. This is where things can get a little confusing. There's another authentic account that says when the Prophet Muhammad was asked where people would be, he said they would be on the Sirat, which is usually understood as a bridge. So, are they on a plane or are they on a bridge? Let's untangle this.
And the key here is to understand that this isn't a contradiction at all. It's really just a sequence of events. We're talking about different stages on the path to that final judgment.
So here are the two accounts, side by side. On one hand, you have the description of a vast white plain. On the other, there's the mention of the Sirat, the bridge. At first glance, it looks like a direct conflict, but the answer is all in the timeline of this incredibly long day.
So, what's the deal? It's not that one is right and one is wrong. They're both right. They're just describing different stages of the same journey. People are first on the plain, and then they move on to the Sirat. So let's break down the sequence. Step 1, people emerge from their graves with new, fresh bodies. Step 2, they all gather together on that flat, white plain for that initial assembly. And Step 3, later on, they have to cross the Sirat, that bridge that leads toward their final destination, whether it's heaven or hell. See, both accounts are true. They just describe different moments in time.
All right, let's get even more specific. We know this all happens on a transformed Earth. But is there a particular geographical location for this final gathering?
The source material actually tackles this question head-on, and the answer might surprise you because it actually goes against a very, very common belief.
So a lot of people believe that the gathering will happen on the plains of Arafat, the famous site from the Hajj pilgrimage. But here's the thing. The sources say there's actually no evidence for that. Instead, authentic, verified traditions point to a totally different place. Al-Sham, the historical region of Greater Syria.
And the evidence is pretty direct.
This quote from a narration by Abu Dar Ghaffari explicitly names Al-Sham as the land for both the final gathering and the resurrection itself.
And it doesn't stop there. This is backed up by another tradition which pinpoints Beit al-Muqaddas, that's Jerusalem, which is in Al-Sham, as the land of the gathering and the resurrection. So the sources are actually really consistent about pointing to this specific part of the world.
Okay, so this all sounds pretty cosmic, right? So the final question is, how does any of this grand epic event connect to our lives today? Well, the sources actually draw a really powerful parallel to a living annual tradition.
So even though the final gathering isn't at Arafat, the annual Hajj pilgrimage that takes place at Arafat is seen as this incredible living rehearsal. It's a symbolic reminder of what that ultimate gathering, all of humanity standing equal before God, might actually feel like.
And on that day, the state of humanity is described in some pretty stark terms. People are physically brought back to life, but mentally their focus is entirely inward. They're described as being uncaring of anything or anyone but their own welfare, and they just blindly follow a beckoner towards their judgment. And that moment, the giant crowd fades away, and it all comes down to ultimate individual accountability.
And that leaves us with a final thought to chew on. The ultimate judgment is pictured as the largest crowd you could possibly imagine, and yet in that massive crowd, every single person is completely alone with their own deeds. It kind of makes you wonder, if we're all going to stand as individuals then, how should we be living as individuals now?